Welcome to another edition of Books in Focus. We'll be talking about the hot picks coming out in the hot month of August. Christine and Miranda, I'm Nicole. If you have any questions, please let us know. Would you like to talk about? Still like it.
I can try it now because I just made this
There we go. We do like to talk about some guaranteed bestsellers. You probably have heard of these names or titles already, so you want to be first in line on the holds list here at the library. Danielle Steele has a new one coming out. Main character Sabrina is a best-selling author, so the book's about an author who has overcome a lot of personal turmoil in her life, and her plans are waylaid by an unexpected inheritance. The newest one from James Patterson, Lion and Lamb, sounds like a sexy thriller. Philadelphia is in an uproar over the death of a local football hero, and the evidence is piling up against his even more famous wife. P.I. Lamb is working for the defense, and P.I. Lion is working for the prosecution, and they're constantly getting in each other's way. Will they end up working together? The newest from Sandra Brown takes place in Texas. At a county fair, chaos explodes as a shooter opens fire on the crowd. After a chance encounter at a police station, corporate consultant Calder and children's writer Ellie, who were in the crowd, worked together to find the shooter. The newest from Jennifer Weiner is called The Breakaway. 34-year-old Abby's pretty happy and content. She's engaged, she's got a job, she thinks she's got it all figured out, but she's got that feeling where something doesn't quite feel right. An unexpected bike travel vacation opportunity arises, and she signs up, and she's excited, she's looking forward to it, and she's surprised when her mother and her ex-boyfriend had signed up for it as well. Hilarity was. Surprise! The newest from Anne Pichette, Tom Lake, takes place on a picturesque vacation, mother-daughter family vacation, and the daughters have convinced their mother to share the story of a former fling with a film star with her. And so we'll learn more about this family's history and this sexy film star fling. The newest from Karen Slaughter is book 11 in the William Trent series. Investigator Will Trent, the medical examiner Sarah Lipton are back. They're helping a young woman who's been brutally attacked, which brings up secrets from Sarah's past. The newest, Fern Michaels, Rock Bottom, is 35 in the Sisterhood series. A diverse group of women forge a bond and help right wrongs is the ongoing plot of that Sisterhood series. And this one, the ladies work together to reveal truths about foundational weaknesses in their community, which is leading to accidents and death and pain. Canary Girls, this one, historical fiction piece based on the Multinettes, who built bombs for Britain's arsenal during World War I. These women were asked to make weapons and work grueling hours with very little protective gear, which led to the yellow coloring and the title of Canary Girls. So some hot picks for August, as well as some nonfiction.
That reminds me of the Reagan rules.
Yes. Yeah. That should be just one thing.
So our first hot pick for August is Anansi's Gold by Yupok Eagle. It is a meticulously and impressively researched title that is sharply written and highly engrossing account of Bla Meze's life and politics and society in Ghana and the impacts of colonialism and external interference in Africa. The next one we have is When Your Back's Against the Wall by Michael Orr. You may remember him from The Blind Side. It is his new book. He offers encouragement and shows readers how to get up again and again and again when life seems to keep hitting you with different walls, and how to turn those walls into opportunities.
Has he written other books?
Yes, Against All Odds is his prior book. The next book I have is A Brief History of the Female Body by Dina Emera. She is an evolutionary geneticist. Sorry, I almost said genealogist. I'm like, that's not quite right. It is described as a fascinating science book that endeavors to explain the evolutionary history of the female form. It is described as excessively written, meticulously researched, and it provides a unique window into the biology of women. next is, unfortunately, one we don't have a cover for, they have yet to release it still.
Terrible.
But, yep, it's Field Notes on the North American Sasquatch, Why We Believe in the Unbelievable by John O'Connor. He is a journalist and a writer, and he takes you on the narrative quest through the American wilds in search of Bigfoot and his eccentric fan base.
This shows a photograph of him taking a night ride.
Yep, exactly. How would you know? His fan base, Bigfoot's fan base includes reputable men and women of science, as well as other, he describes them as charlatans, and it describes their unique and zany, secretive world of cryptozoology. So that one looks like it's gonna be really, really fun. Live to See the Day by Nikki Golia is about Kensington, Philadelphia, which is usually only distinguished by its poverty. This is a thought-provoking, well-researched book that looks at the lives of 3 Puerto Rican children and how they came of age in a place where 18 birthdays aren't considered a rite of passage, but a statistical miracle. The next one we have is Dreamtown by Laura Merkel. This is a searching and intimate examination of the ideals and realities of racial integration, specifically in Shaker Heights, Ohio. This book explores the decades-long pursuit to that goal and uncovers both the roadblocks, the triumphs, and tribulations that threaten the progress of that project. The next one we have, number 7, is Owning Our Own Struggles by B. Nina. This is a masterfully written book that focuses on the healing process and how it can take place at any stage of life. Nina is a therapist, and she uses her training to help us figure out how our struggles provide practical tools for cultivating resilience, managing difficult relationships, and more. And then finally, Like a River by Granger Smith is described as a triumphant story of new life birthed out of tragedy. Its goal is to teach readers how to face their failures, confront their pain, and connect with their faith.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The person here it says B, Nina, and up there it says Nina B, is that, I don't know anything about that person.
I would say Nina B.
Yeah, maybe. I kept finding it kind of back and forth in different reviews, so I went with,
Right,
What
I'm
I
just curious, do you know why, or anything about this person?
I know other than that she is apparently has been practicing therapy for a very long time. She's licensed. I'm trying to remember where she went to school because I read that this morning.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
I wonder
Yes.
if it's like Chinese names that the last name is first usually.
That's the kind of trick that librarians hate, you know.
Yeah.
I'll look her up real quick, see if we-
Yeah.
Okay.
We like questions and answers.
I started, I said, go ahead and ask. We'll investigate Nina B. So, the newest from Laura Childs, Honey Drop Dead, is in this series, this tea shop mystery series. The previous one, Lemon Curd Killer, is currently checked out, but before that we have A Dark and Stormy Tea. I brought this read-alike from Krista Davis as well. If you like cozy mysteries that read like thrillers, they're gonna have similar main characters. The woman in this owns and attends events gone awry, investigates set in Washington, D.C. But to talk about Honey Drop Dead, it's Theodosia, who's been in the book series. Local tea shop owner Theodosia helps host an event in Charleston to get new native grasses planted at a community beekeeping project started for the local park. To the party, a phony beekeeper shows up and he sprays toxic chemicals and inhalants among the party. And so the party guests are all confused and in upheaval, and then a shot is heard, and then everything goes up in chaos. And Oswald Clayton III, who is the local state legislator candidate, is found fallen to the ground. So the other host of the party, Holly Burns, is heartbroken. Her party belongings were destroyed, and the police seem clueless, so Holly asks for Theodosa's help to investigate and find out more. As Theodosa is busy investigating suspects like Oswald's widow, his political opponent, local disgruntled artist, there's another body that shows up. The next one, it's not mine.
No, it's mine, and it looks like it is in fact Nina B, but that's.
She gives no reason. She
Yeah.
has a website, minab.com, and, of course, it's just, with a fine tooth comb, but I looked at her about information, she doesn't really say it, she's Panamanian, and something else.
Alright, so I have Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. 20 years after a baby is stolen, a woman is murdered at a care facility. The two crimes are linked, and a good, bad girl may be the key to discovering the truth. Two women have to come together to solve the mystery and figure out how these crimes are connected. This is a new thriller for Alice Feeney. It is described as a well-plotted, fast-paced thriller full of twists and turns where no one can be trusted. The first read-alike I have is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. It is also described as a masterfully written thriller that focuses on disappearance and unusual connections between those disappearances. One summer night, a young couple disappears leaving near the woods, leaving a new baby behind. A year later, a new couple moves into the home next to the woods. With alternating perspectives and well-developed characters, Jewel drops you right into the mystery. Sorry, I'm so excited to get to this that I cannot, all the words are trying to come out at once. It's so much fun. The next read-alike I have is All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda, with a similar focus also on missing persons. 10 years after leaving Cooley Ridge and the heart-wrenching disappearance of her best friend, Nicolette, named Nick, has returned to care for her ailing father. When another friend disappears, however, she resolves to solve the mystery and determine what is happening before it is too late. It's described as a well-plotted domestic thriller that explores how events connect over time.
You had no trouble with that author's last name.
I know, I've been practicing. In front of a mirror, so I had a little bit more of an audience than, me talking to an empty room. That's right.
Not in front of birds.
No, they're more inclined to mimic the bad pronunciation of actors.
So look who's got a new one. Yeah, James McBride. Great, I believe the other read-alike is checked out. Okay. James McBride is a favorite of many of us. This particular story, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, takes place in Chicken Hill, which is a neighborhood of Jewish, Black, and European Americans in Potsdam, Pennsylvania.
You used to live there.
It's husband and wife have a grocery store. They're very devout Jews. They're very kind and try their best to help in the community. And we're going to get to the story where they're threatening to remove a child, and this couple is asked to keep the child safe, and they do that, and then it causes twofold tragedy, it says, twofold. And the community seeking justice. So that happened in 1925. The story is happening in 1972. So the event is a look back, and again, body was discovered and brought this back to light. I thought of Last Call at the Nightingale because of the timing And it also talks about how much these folks, they have like a wacky community, which is, there's that in Last Call of the Nightingale. But this is one of my favorite, the best described characters, okay, I'll say that. Fortune teller who dances and cries out to God before registering her premonitions on a typewriter. So they're surrounded by interesting folks. And I thought Women of Copper Country too. I didn't bother bringing that because, you know, some of these things we know. But, you know, similar, the community and the gathering place. And then, of course, A Good Neighborhood by Teresa Fowler. And the correlation with this one is the race issue. So of course there's gonna be a race issue and a religion issue in McBride's new one. But that comes out on the 8th of August. I got another one. Where's the clicker? Oh. Okay. And then the missing person one. I grabbed Paris Apartment. This is a thriller by Gillian McAllister. This one's coming out August 1st. So you have a week to read that one before you get the McBride book. It's cleverly written and surprising, and the protagonist is a detective who has a child. So she's a young mother, she's a wife, and she takes on this case and prepares herself, of course, she knows it's gonna be complex, and prepares herself to have to be away from her family. And as her investigation continues, she finds out that her life is at risk because of what she's uncovering. And she describes the weapon used against her is a secret. It's her secret. So she has to decide, ethical dilemma, she has to decide if she's going to lose everything, probably, or is she gonna frame someone else for the murder? So she tries to decide. And that's gonna give us a look at just how murky the difference can be between right and wrong. And I chose the Paris Apartment, of course, as a read-alike, because in this one, brother goes missing. And there's a similar, seems like it's gonna be a pretty simple process, and then there are glitches making the story that much more exciting. I also, there is a book about, the author's last name is Dymaline, that was not on the shelf either, but it's called Empire of the Wild. And the premise for that one is a husband has gone missing. And his wife finds him 1 year later. He's an evangelist in a Walmart parking lot. And he denies who he is, he denies he knows her. Everything she uses to try to trip his memory, he denies happened to him or is about him. So I thought that sounded like a particularly interesting premise. And so I wanted to mention that as well.
So, Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo, thank you. I had it written out. Flora has a gift. She is our protagonist. She can predict to the day when someone will die. She's decided that she's going to have a living wake for herself, and this causes ripples through her sisters and other family members. Question is, what is motivating her? Is she or someone else gonna die soon? How is it gonna happen? Why is she gathering the family now? Meanwhile, her sisters have tumult of their own with other drama going on in their life. This is a tightly wound story of family, secrets, connections, and the impact that family history can have on everyone. The first read-alike I have is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson, because it has a similar focus on family connections and secrets. This is a unique locked door style mystery with a very sassy and entertaining narrator, a quirky cast of characters, and strong themes of family, vengeance, redemption, and loyalty. And it is set in the primary setting is a ski lodge during peak season. And I had to put this pun in here. It's like an avalanche, a little slow to start, but once it gets going, you won't be able to set it down. Sorry. And then the other read-alike I have is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ning. It has a similar theme of family and secrets and how those things connect us. It is set in the 1970s in a small town in Ohio. Marilyn and James Lee have the highest of hopes for their daughter, Lydia, but everything turns to chaos when her body is found in a lake, and things start to become unveiled to each other and to their neighbors. This is a profoundly moving story about the relationships and secrets that can develop within a family. Yep, I was gonna just hand it to you anyway. It is a very fun read.
So the newest from Melanie Benjamin takes place in 1960s Southern California, with days on the beach and nights at Whiskey A Go Go. When women were expected to be housewives, Carol Donnelly breaks the mold as a female surfer. She competes in an all-male sport, and her daughters, Mindy and Ginger, bear the weight of Carol's unconventional lifestyle. The Donnelly sisters grow up and cut school to avoid questions about their mom and spend time trying to surf to win their mother's time and interest. Mindy's a natural, but younger sister Ginger feels out of place in the water. As they grow up, their relationship changes. Mindy's drawn to celebrity and love affairs and partying at clubs, and Ginger's looking for her own community, gets swept up into counterculture and potentially even a cult. Through the changes and turmoil, their relationship needs to adapt as they need to be there for each other. And we'll find out more about this mother-daughter saga. This reminded me of the stylings of Beatrice Williams and Alice Hoffman. Alice Hoffman writes more of a magical realism story, and Beatrice Williams, of course, historical fiction, but she's gonna write interesting, strong characters, female characters, family at the center of every story, and women who are not meant to be Donna Reed. Brenda Novak, on the other hand, maybe a little more on the Donna Reed scale. I'll move those there. So I brought these, not necessarily similar exact story, but I think writing style, it really made me think of these two authors. The newest, Brenda Novak, is gonna be the start of a trilogy, okay? The Coyote Canyon trilogy. Main character Tallulah doesn't like complications, but they sure do like her. 14 years after breaking up with her fiance, she returns home to Coyote Canyon, Montana. She's there to help settle her great aunt's estate. She cannot escape her runaway bride reputation, and she reconnects with an old friend while fixing up her great aunt's Victorian farmhouse. So these are similar female stories. This one takes place in France. This one takes place on an island with similar mysterious inheritance. But when you want to read a really good family read, I think of beach reads, easygoing, not too negative.
Next one for me is The English Experience, and this is a story about it's number 3 first, let me say that. This is a series, the third in a series, and I did bring you 1 and 2, if anybody's interested, those 3 books. And The character in this one is Jason Fittger. He is a college professor, and he is reluctantly accompanying a group of students for a week abroad. And, or no, it's not a week abroad, it's an experience abroad, because it's a 3-week trip. And he has in this group a claustrophobe who has a record, one who believes he's going to the Caribbean, a pair of unreconciled lovers, and a pair of undifferentiated twins, and one young woman who has never been away from her cat. So he helps them juggle all of these personalities, and he does his best to try to give everyone a good time, make sure they have fun, and make sure they have fun and make sure they all stay safe, which is a challenge with college students, I'm sure. Community sometimes in a surprising place. So this morning, I'm thinking, well, I thought about it yesterday too, what story would be like that? So I had a discussion with Miranda, and we took it down to reluctant leader, quirky characters, group story, and the unlike beings have to get along to reach the goal of their quest. And so what better, the Wizard of Oz. Thank you. So this is an annotated version, and I don't know, sometimes that's really fun to look through. I have an annotated Shakespeare that belonged to my grandma, and I just really, I'm so sorry. Yeah, thanks for helping me, now I'm gonna dump all your stuff.
That's okay.
Thank you. There's a clipper. All right, next one, Three Fires. This is a historical thriller. This is coming out on the 1st, and Denise Mina. Have any of you read her thing? She's written a lot of books. I wasn't familiar with them. Okay. The story that she's taking this historical thriller from is the life of Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola. Takes place 1400. That name mean anything to anybody? Didn't to me either, but I found out who he is. He's the Bonfire of the Vanities guy. So he is the guy who led the burning of books and clothing, I think, and yeah, they burned books, clothes, and other extravagances. So, Bonfire of the Vanities isn't just a Tom Wolfe book, it's a real event in history, which I wasn't aware of. I'm always learning with you guys. So he has, book begins at his execution, and then of course we're gonna take a look back at what leads him from being a hopeful young man, wanting a family, wanting to be a doctor, to becoming a religious fanatic. The best guys. So, that was not my line, that was cute. In addition to just being a good story, she's a very good writer. People love her writing. And she's really good at making connections between this medieval time and our current headlines. And that's, I think, what often makes things relevant when we're reading them. As Rita likes, I brought along The Queen's Men. This is, takes place, it's Elizabeth I's reign, so it's a little after the Bonfire of the Vanities, but this is the beginning of John Dee and the spying and working for the Queen, and it eventually becomes the Queen, Her Majesty's Secret Service. And that's the historical events that this is based on. And for Carcaterra, Midnight Angel, people are going through Florence, they find a hidden alley, or a hidden cave under. They go under, and inside there they find the 3 Midnight Angels who are attributed to Michelangelo, but have been lost. So they bring them up out of the darkness, and right away they start being chased by thieves. So that story, Dan Brown, Angels and Demons, that's a, that's a trope for a lot of things. But this one sounded especially interesting to me.
So T. Kingfisher got her start writing young adult books. So she's crossed over into adult with her 3 most recent books. Her next one out will be Thornhenge. She writes these sort of, I guess, modern fairy tale stories, where she's looking at things from a different perspective. She upplays the less popular characters. There's a dark sense of humor in them, which I appreciate, and the princess is, a lot more heroic in her stories than in traditional fairy tales. Like this one, Nell and Bone, her one from 2022, says, this isn't the kind of fairy tale where the princess marries the prince, it's the one where she kills them. So she kind of does this modern, newer imagining of fantasy, but it's really easily written. There's not too much world building where it's hard to get into. So in her newest one, there's a princess trapped in a tower, but this isn't her story. So the main character, the princess, was stolen from her family by the fairies as a baby. She was fortunate enough, she grew up safe. It was a happy upbringing. She lived in the warmth of fairyland. And once she was an adult, the Fae asked her to return home to the human world and offer a blessing of protection to another newborn child. It sounded simple enough. She liked the Fae, they raised her well, she wanted to do right by them. Centuries later, a knight approaches the castle she's staying in with the sole purpose of breaking the one curse the princess will do anything to uphold. It also made me think of this Catherine Aden, who writes a really accessible, strong princess fantasy story. Next one, local favorite, Peter Heller's newest one. I think he writes nature better than these 2 authors, but these authors do a great sense of setting the story, and they take place on preservations in an island and cool natural places like that. So this one's going to be set in Yellowstone National Park. A wolf biologist and local hunter come to blows. The park ranger, who's haunted by his own personal demons, is tasked with figuring out what happened between these 2 locals. Ren, the park ranger, usually just breaks up campground fights. She hurries along the nosy moose, and she keeps the peace between nature and the vacationers. Ren finds his friend Hilly, a wolf biologist, trapped in a wolf trap, and it does not look like an accident. So Ren is investigating, and he crosses paths with local poachers, local hunters, and does not believe that they're all going to get along, and needs to find out what happens to his friend. Heller delivers on his usual extraordinary characters, surprising humor, and captures the beauty of our natural world.
Both of those, I read those, and they're very good.
Yes, yeah. They're good. They're mystery, strong sense of place, interesting characters, good ones.
So, this next one is Evergreen by Naomi Hirahana. It is the second in a series. It is about Aiko Ito, and who is working as a nurse's aide, and she's trying to find justice for her family that has been fractured by the time they spent in the Manzanar internment camp. For the Itos, nothing in post-World War II America is easy. As they work to reestablish what they had, a murder is committed in Middle Tokyo, and for Aki, the police start investigating a little too close to home. This is a complex exploration of what it means to be Japanese American, as well as a well-crafted mystery. It is sure to immerse you in that time period. The first read-alike I have is actually the first in the series, where you're introduced to the characters immediately after they were released from the internment camp. And then the other two read-alikes I have is They Called Us Enemies by George Takei. It is a graphic novel about his experience in the actual camps as a child. And then I was really sad to find out that our print copy apparently just walked off the shelf and never came back. But we do have a digital copy available through Libby, which is Farewell to Manzanar, written by Jeannie Wakadatsu Houston, and it is her experience, and it's a really, really powerfully written book, very accessibly written memoir of her time, both there before, during, and after the camps.
They called us up, you said that's a graphic?
Yes.
Do you have the regular text?
So this is the only way he released it.
Huh.
So yeah, would you like to take a look at it?
No, I read it somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's-
I wish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen a text copy, I've only ever seen the graphic novel version. So yeah.
We have Houston.
Whale Falls the next one.
We're gonna talk about this book, I don't think.
What?
It's not on our list.
Oh,
The Keeper?
The Keeper of Hidden Books?
Right. It's not on there.
Yes, it is, at the bottom.
No, it's not on our list.
Yeah.
I'm the one who used to prepare.
Oh, that's exciting.
So, you're getting
Well, it sounds
a
good.
bonus book today.
Yep.
The Keeper of Hidden Books by Madeline Martin.
Cause yeah, I have it on my copy. I have read-alikes and everything for it.
Oh, you do, so it's
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we left it off and didn't
No.
have it. Alright, go for it.
So The Keeper of Hidden Books by Madeline Martin is inspired by a true story of an underground library in Warsaw during World War II. It is described as a heartwarming story about the power of books to bring people together. Our protagonist is Zofia, and she and her best friend have always found comfort during the bleak days running up to and during World War II in books. And as the occupation intensifies, they realize that no one else is there to save the books. So they start jumping in to try to rescue as many as they can. Naturally, the first thing that popped into my head when reading the description was my first read-alike, which is actually considered a teen book, is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. It is also it's got a similar feel to it. It's described as a superbly crafted story that looks at World War II from the perspective of a child, specifically a young German girl, and how her love affair with books and reading begins as she starts to more creatively borrow them from places, steal them, and how it helps her focus on her survival, which again mirrors a lot of the story of The Keeper of Hidden Books by Warsaw. The other read-alike I have is The Library of Legends by Janie Chang, with a similar theme around saving books and stories. It is also set during the World War II period, but this book focuses on the Second Sino-Japanese War, which is runs parallel to World War II. Hoon Lin and her classmates are fleeing Nanking, but they do not travel alone because they carry a collection of 500-year-old myths and legends precious to their culture. So they must save them by transporting them to northern China, where they will hopefully be safe. It is described as a beautifully written, well-detailed story of the lengths we will go to save the stories precious to us. Well, not if it's a war,
Really going to give away my hand here. I'll go ahead and put them up here. Of course, this guy.
Oh my.
Because so Whale Fall is it's about a diver. He's gone to on a vacation. He's trying to he's grappling with his father's death, and so he takes a diving vacation off the coast of Monastery Beach, and he just feels like that's the only way he's going to lift the weight of the grief of losing his dad. The dive begins well enough, but sudden appearance of a giant squid puts Jay in very real jeopardy. And that jeopardy is he is caught in this by the squid's tentacles and drawn into a whale's mouth. And he quickly realizes this is do or die. He's got to figure it out. Suspenseful, cinematic. Every review is just, gushing. He is actually the author. I was not familiar with him. He has quite a biography. He writes with Guillermo del Toro, writes the screenplays. He works with filmmaker George Romero. He's authored, co-authored several books, so he has quite a reputation. And in fact, the Library Journal said this is a thriller that would be great for fans of Andy Weir, who may be a little more familiar. He wrote The Martian. Yeah. And so for Rita Likes, I chose
Mad Libs.
a Bible, Joshua 2, it will tell you about it in there. But seriously. If your thing in books that you like, kind of like me, is reading about broken, damaged humans and how they exist, I would recommend to you all once again, The Passenger. Yeah.
The slime, is that tape on there?
On what? This?
Oh,
No, that's the.
Oh, that's just the color of it.
Oh, okay.
It looked like it had been repaired or something.
And Room. Has anyone read Room or saw the movie? I chose that one for the claustrophobic effect. Because that one is a whole novel, takes place over several years in one room.
That's good.
The face upside down. The face upside down.
What is?
Looks like a face upside down.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, it is, you're right. Yeah, that's what it is. It is a
The
face upside down.
Oh, it's fine.
There's so much to discover about books. Who puts a face on them?
It's one of those days.
Books are cracking today.
They are. There's trouble.
I'm still up, right?
Nope, I'm next.
Okay.
Maybe we'll keep her through us.
I'm wondering if maybe there were some edits needed to
The
the
next on
lid.
desk is that little picture at the top, right?
Nope, that is the right one, alright. Okey dokey. So, The Girl in the Eagle's Talons by Karen Smirnoff is the new installment of the Millennium series. Smirnoff is helping to carry on the series with David Lagerkrantz. It is a carrying on of the girl with the dragon tattoo, which you'll notice is my first read-alike. In this one, we are going up to northern Sweden, where change is coming fast and furious because they are now able to access some previously untapped resources. This is creating a gold rush atmosphere in the area, and the criminal underworld is leading that charge. It is described as a pulse-pounding thriller that sets Slander, the original girl with the dragon tattoo, on a path to navigate a new world of conspiracy full of betrayals, old friends, and new enemies.
But they're two different authors.
Yes, so the reason for that, that's actually part of my explanation for this one, is that this was, the original author was Stein Larson, and he passed away. So he actually, these books were published posthumously. He died in 2004, they were published in 2008. He had just turned in the manuscripts for a trilogy, and they went ahead and published them, and they were, because of how wildly popular they were and how many prizes they won, and I do have a little listing here, they have been continued. They won the Barry Award for, actually several of them, for Mystery and Crime Novel of the Decade, the Anthony Award for Best First Novel, because this was his debut, one heck of a debut, and then the Barry Awards for Best British Crime Novel, winner, the Machiavelli Award for Best Novel also, and this is all circa 2008.
Okay, thank you. It's all
Yeah.
theirs, you know.
Yep. I know, it is a little confusing when you have authors who unfortunately pass away. In this one, we are introduced to our principal characters and the world of conspiracy in which she lives. She's a computer hacker. This is described as an intricately built, gritty world of conspiracy, love, and vengeance. And my other read-alike, which also is from an author whose work has been continued posthumously, is The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum. It also is set in a fast-paced world of conspiracy and shenanigans. It is the first in what became the Jason Bourne series, originally also meant to be a trilogy, where Jason Bourne, if you are not familiar with the premise, wakes up with no memory, discovers that he has a very deadly set of skills and $4 million in a Swiss bank account. This is described as a high-octane spine thriller, and it's helpful to get a foundation of the other books as well.
So this is Tracy Lang's second. This is her first. We Are the Brennans, came out in 2021. She got really good reviews for this one. Both this new Tracy Lang and these two read-alikes are gonna be really intense family stories, lots of secret reveals, lots of drama, lots of conflict in the families, but ultimately they're about pulling together. Has anyone read Mary Beth Keane? She's got a new one out, Half Moon, on the new shelf. Well, this one's, I've not read this one, but they're literary family dramas. This one sounds really interesting too. Two policemen live next to each other in New York City, and the conflict of the story is moved forward by their wives, who are worried about them as they're gone at work, and a weird set of events happens, which leads to family conflict. So, but we're gonna look forward to The Connollys of Country Down by Tracy Lang. Main character Tara Connolly is released from prison after 18 months for a drug charge. She knows rebuilding her life with that kind of rap is gonna be really hard. So she's got no money, no opportunities. She retreats home to her siblings, who of course have their own problems. Her brother's a single dad with health concerns. Her sister's hiding a big secret. And life gets even more difficult when someone from her past shows up. As life unravels, the family needs to pull together and fresh start. Start fresh? Start fresh? So this one, after you've read the very serious family dramas and you need something uplifting, you should check out The Blonde Identity. I'm gonna put these on the card.
Go for it.
I don't wanna add to the attacking book problem.
True, there's something in that card.
Come on.
So The Blonde Identity is Allie Carter's adult fiction debut. She's previously published in young adult, teen. So this one's a hilarious road trip rom-com focused on a woman with amnesia who discovers a long-lost identical twin sister who's a spy. The twin sister's a spy. Our main character wakes up in bed in Paris with a sexy stranger beside her. Before she can remember who she is, she realizes she's being followed as someone's trying to break into her room and is yelling at her. She's on the run. The sexy stranger agrees to help her dodge the criminals and uncover secrets about her life. Every new bit of information is a little bit more confusing, some of it's contradictory. She needs to figure out who she can trust and really fast. Allie Hazelwood is a really popular romantic comedy writer right now. This sounds like this has a lot of the same appeal points, interesting characters, sassy fun, a little bit of sexiness. And I read Laura Lippman's Sunburn, which sounds like a similar story, but without the overtly funny appeal. In Sunburn, there's a woman on the run concealing her identity, and it's got more sly jokes, but an impending sense of doom, and she's got to figure out what to do next. Really interesting female character.
One of the books is flipped.
People need a challenge. Or they get bored. All right, thank you. This book is out on August 1st. The title is The 100 Loves of Juliet, which probably takes you to Shakespeare, which is exactly where the author wants you to go. It's a fantasy romance, and young woman is single. She takes off to Alaska, and she's just gonna write. She's always loved to write, and she's rewritten the Romeo Juliet sort of theme many times in her young life. And lo and behold, the first night in town, she meets a local fisherman, Sebastian, and she recognizes him immediately as the hero of all of her love stories. And he's known her too forever. They've had many different names, many different time periods. The catch is, every time they fall in love, she dies. So they're trying to balance this knowledge with, of course, this huge attraction. And I thought of, I have the wrong books. No, this doesn't go yet. Sorry. So I thought of Outlander, of course. I didn't bother to bring it because it's big and heavy, and I think everybody knows that basic story.
It's too hot for heavy books.
And Wizard of Oz did me in today. And also, Time After Time. This is a Roaring 20s character finds herself in Depression era New York City, and living in Grand Central. It's a love story, and she has Nora, her name is Nora, she has an affair with Joe, and their story defies place, class, and time. So that's not a huge jump in time, 20s to 30. I also thought of a movie, Somewhere in Time. You've heard of that, Christopher Reeves and Jane Seymour? It's about 150 years old. I used to watch it when I was young. We still have a copy here at the library.
Time traveler's life.
Do what?
The time traveler's life.
You know what? We don't have a copy of it. Yeah. That's the one I crossed out. Yeah. And The Year of Second Chances. Now it's time for this book. The Year of Second Chances is women's fiction, and it is written by Laura Avery. She also gave us P.S. I Love You, and she's had quite a few popular books over the years. And in this one, of course, a young widow. She's trying to deal with her life, get back on her feet, and she finds, I don't remember how she opens her email, and she finds an email from her deceased husband. And she opens it up, and he tells her, he attaches a dating app, and he tells her to please go out and find someone. And of course, she's not doing that. And she talks to her brother, and her brother says that was Gabe's last wish. He took the time to send it and to have it delivered to you after a year. So she takes some steps out into the world, and the world of 21st century dating, which I don't know about you, but I think it's horrifying. I'm happy alone. I'm not alone now.
We won't tell
Yeah.
her.
Oh, he knows, I told him, I'll never get married again. And this, the Afterlife by Alvarez is a wonderful little story about a college professor who, she retires, her husband dies. They happen very quickly. And she says, what am I gonna do with myself? And an illegal immigrant who is very pregnant shows up at her house. And that's that story. And also, Julia Quinn, I've never read her, so I guess she's a little spicy. And this one is like the Year of Second Chances, in that her cousin, when he was wicked, cousin dates his dad's cousin's widow. So there's a family connection, there's hesitancy about dating again. And that one's told in Julia Quinn style. So if you love her, great. If not, make you read it. It's good reading.
Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañedas is a supernatural western set on the Texas-Mexico border in the 1840s. Vampires face off against vaqueros. In her new book, our protagonist is Nena, who knows a thing or two about monsters as the daughter of a rancher. But something more sinister than the intentions of the Anglo settlers streaming into the area is stalking around the ranch. At night, it seems to come out and drain the blood of men and creatures alike, leaving them for dead. It's described as an atmospheric gothic western with a very strong sense of place. I have her first novel here, The Hacienda, that introduces you to her voice and style. It is also set around Mexico. Our protagonist in this one is Beatrice, and she is reeling after the execution of her father during the overthrow of the Mexican government. She is forced to marry and is moved to a remote hacienda with a sinister presence. And I wanted to find something both spooky, that is a slow burn, atmospheric, and of course vampires, because vampires. So I gravitated for my next real-life to the classic, the original vampire story, Dracula by Bram Stoker, which is a lovely slow burn told through a series of letters, journal entries, and newspaper clippings as we follow Jonathan Hark, Parker as he travels to Transylvania to settle a business venture. Little does he know that this seemingly innocuous business trip not only will alter the course of his life, but also place his loved ones in danger.
Okay. The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp. It's gonna be first in a new series. I think from the description, you're gonna quickly identify that there's some older sleuths as the main characters in this one. Sunset Hall is our place where story takes place. It's a house shared for the old and unruly. The residents discover.
Some reservations.
I like the idea of getting them all together, you know, let them be curmudgeonly together. The residents discover a body next door, and they contact the police, and they all sigh when the police come and go without much fuss, and without discovering the body in the shed. Sorry, Lilith. The Sunset Hall residents realize if they find out who killed the neighbor next door, they can pin Lilith's murder on that murderer. So they're in a race to figure out, before the cops do, who killed the neighbors, who's responsible for the neighbor's dead body. This Riley bunch of characters adventure into town on their secret mission. Obviously, they're all unlikable murderers, but hilarity should ensue. Osmond's trilogy also features some much more lovable but comedic main characters in a retirement home, I believe. And Vera Wong, this is on the new shelf. She's got unsolicited advice for murderers, as she's a tea shop owner that has found herself in the middle of a murder mystery. Her tea shop is literally the scene of a crime one morning. And she is a likable but curious older sleuth.
Look carefully at the cover. I'll take you quickly through the story. This is a romance out August 29th, Kissing Kosher. Step 1, get the secret recipe. Step 2, don't fall in love. And a young woman is taking over her family's kosher bakery called the Best Babka in Brooklyn. And she needs some help, so she hires a young man. And of course, his name is Ethan, and of course, he's not there to work. He is there trying to steal the recipe for his grandfather, who also owns a bakery. But you know, they're gonna fall madly in love, and how are they gonna work that out is going to be how the story proceeds. And I've not read. I think her name's Rayanne. Does that make sense? Yeah, she's written quite a few things. But I did read a book called The Sweetest Thing last year, and it's checked out right now, but it was written by Sasha Summer, and it had a very similar story, only it was about honey and how you make honey, which was a kind of an interesting thing to learn about. Huh? I'm sorry. Well, these people could. In the fantasy section, no.
No spoilers.
No. They're raising bees. And it's progress, and he wants development on his farm, and she lives next door, and she wants no development on her farm, and they hate each other, and you know. But thank you, I could clear that up.
Now we know.
Yeah, now we know.
The birds and the bees, right?
Stop the recording for that one.
We all need little lessons.
And then we come to.
Perfect.
And you're an animal. This one is due out on the 8th as well. I'm gonna put that up there because you probably already know what that is. But I'll tell you the story and you'll probably be able to guess. That's the best I could do though. This is about a group of outcasts who find themselves together. Their living arrangement or living place is somebody runs into it, okay, so they have to find something else. So they hop on, commune, yeah. So they hop on a motorcycle and they get to Texas. They find and they make that their place to stay. So they're developing, of course, over this sense of community first, and then a sense of family. And one of the people in the group, her name is Coral, and Coral does not speak, ever. Her presence is going to be an important piece of this story, written by Jardine Libieri. So, read-alikes for that would be, this is Animal Farm, you probably all guessed it. We're all equal, except we're not. And, Lily and the Octopus is a story about a man named Ted and his dog Lily, who is an aging dachshund, and she doesn't have much more time. And it's about life, loneliness, companionship, there's a little magical realism in it, and it has a very intriguing title.
Under the Tamarind Tree by Niger Alm. This is a compellingly heartbreaking debut that explores the ripple effect of trauma and the lengths we go to protect the ones we love. Our protagonist is Rosina, and she jumps in time between 1964, as she's struggling to find her place in the newly established country of Pakistan, and then we jump to 2019, where she receives a phone call from a friend from her past in the 1960s, someone she thought she would never hear from again. So it's how she makes it between 1964 up through 2019, and the relationship, how it became, how it formed, how it was broken, and then how they came back together. The first read-alike I have is Moth by Melody Rozaik. This is the saga of one family during the tumultuous period of India's partition. This novel explores the impact that event had specifically on women and what it means to be othered in your own country. It is described as an emotional story about the redemptive power of family and relationship. And then the other read-alike I have is The God of Small Things by Aruni Dawadi Roy. This is a non-linear, bittersweet story of two twin brothers told through memories and family stories. We follow the twins as they navigate the disorientating move from the magic of childhood to adulthood within the strict social structure of India.
Okay, Gambler, Secrets from the Life at Risk is the tell-all of Billy Walters, who is considered the GOAT, the greatest of all time of sports betting. This is a larger than life tell-all. Okay, I don't do sports so much, so bear with me. I will try and do it justice. This does sound like a fairly interesting book. First, he's gonna share secrets to his betting system that led to a winning streak of 36 consecutive years. More than just a betting guide, Gambler shares his against all odds American dream story. He was raised by his grandmother in Kentucky in extreme poverty. He was quickly a penny pincher, quickly a hustler, dabbled in used card sales and bookmaking. He eventually moved to Vegas. His success grew, his notoriety grew, and he had some run-ins with the mobsters immortalized in the movie Casino. Part how-to, part tell-all, Gambler sounds like a wild new autobiography. The read-alikes, it made me think of Moneyball, Michael Lewis's story about how He turned around a baseball team by relying more on statistics than had ever been done before, and he had his own algorithm to make a successful team, and it ended up working. Wonderful movie with Brad Pitt too, from someone that doesn't talk sports. So this is my diamond in the rough today. This was my exciting find from all my read-alikes. Nowhere Girl, a memoir of a fugitive childhood, came out last year, and it is a story about a young girl who moves with her family frequently, and they have new identities across different countries to avoid the law. As life begins to unravel, she starts to realize that her life might be the biggest con of all, and the people she loved might be the most dangerous in it. And they lived across different continents and countries while she was growing up and a teenager, and it sounds like a wild ride. The Blue Zone, this is the latest in the Blue Zone series, The Secrets for Living Longer. So there's a couple, I think there's like 5 in the series now with the same author who's investigated different areas of the world to find keys to living longer, living happier life, living better quality, more healthy life. In his newest, which is promising to be beautifully illustrated and informative, he talks about the places on earth where people live the longest, his lessons from his travels, his top longevity foods, the Power 9 behaviors to keep you young and youthful, and a surprising new blue zone is revealed. So these are his previous novels talking about his takeaways from his travels, and the Blue Zone Kitchen has actual literal recipes from these countries that enrich people's lives that live in that area.
Did you say no?
I'm sorry?
Did you say no?
No, all nonfiction.
Alright, Tangled Vines by John Blatt is the story of the South Carolina Murdaugh family. A centuries-old multi-million-dollar law practice helped to cement the family's incredible wealth and local celebrity. But by the end of 2021, Alex Murdaugh, his wife Maggie, and their adult son Paul were murdered. As the police scramble to discover the truth of the grisly crime, other information is beginning to surface about the family and how they wielded their influence. This is a compelling, well-researched book that reads like a crime novel. It's full of twists and turns as you start to explore what happened in 2021. The first read-alike I had, and I didn't actually look at the author until after I had the book in hand. I just went based off of the description, and entertained me enough. It is also a John Blatt book, The Good Nurse, a true story of medicine, madness, and murder. Or I'm sorry, nope, reading the wrong thing. I flipped them. The Perfect Father, the true story of Chris Watts and his all-American family, and a shocking murder by John Blatt. Sorry, dyslexic moment, good times. Same author, same writing style. It is also about the case of a seemingly well-to-do family and how things are not as they seem, and unfortunately results in the tragic murder of the entire family. The other read-alike I have is The Good Nurse, a true story of medicine, madness, and murder by Charles Graeber. It is also another true crime story about someone who is not what they seem to be. It is the story of Charlie Cullen, seemingly a pillar of the community, father, husband, and celebrated caregiver. Over a 16-year career as a nurse spread across 9 hospitals in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, Cullen is implicated in over 300 patients' deaths, and is perhaps considered one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history. It's described as a whirlwind of a book, and a lovely, uplifting tale. And just to keep the happiness train flowing here. I'll worry, that's a future me problem down there. We have The Injustice of Place by Catherine Eden. This is a thought-provoking, well-researched book that explores how place impacts poverty, and finding that the most impoverished places are often not cities, as many think or generally tend to conclude, but rural communities. It uses a fresh data-driven approach, with 3 of the nation's top researchers poring over centuries worth of materials at various, throughout the United States, looking into why rural poverty is so often ignored, how it is perpetuated, and its impact on people who live in those areas. It explores every corner of the United States. It's described as a compelling and accessible book that looks at what these places have primarily in common. So the read-alikes I have all talk about different aspects of poverty in general throughout the United States. Poverty by America and Evicted are both by Matthew Desmond, and look again at it as a whole and then specifically in the housing crisis. The other I have is Nickel and Dimed, which looks at how people without means tend to end up paying more for basic services and things.
Effective is really good because it gives you a whole different perspective
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
on poverty.
yeah.
Yes, it does.
Excellent book. So is Nickel and Dime. Very
Yep.
nice.
Alina Andrews, Valiant Women, story about the courage and work of women during World War II. And, we've talked about a lot of those books, right? There's been such a plethora of them, in recent years. Marie Benedict and her historical fiction, and the Radium Girls, and Hidden Figures, and, well, I guess that was World War II. But women have made it pretty clear that they want their stories to be told. And we know they were pilots, code breakers, ordnance experts, gunnery instructors, metalsmiths, chemists, translators, parachute triggers, truck drivers. That was Bea Arthur. She drove the truck from the Marines. Radar, they say radar men in this write-up, but yeah, radar women, and pigeon trainers. So I thought I'd focus on pigeons, because pigeons were a big, big deal in World War II still, carrier pigeons. And this is a book that gives us a comprehensive saga, the fascinating saga of the world's most revered and reviled bird. So if you're interested in pigeons.
The Cobb sisters, you
Mhm.
know that story?
Yeah.
One of the recent ones was, the one sister was in there and she raises pigeons, and that's a good one.
Yep. The Kopp sisters, in case you didn't hear
That
back
was like
there.
number 5 or something.
Yeah. Yep. So, it was a real thing, it was a big thing, and now there are none. 0. No carrier.
Unless like World War
Done.
I.
I think it was
I think in Britain they're still a pretty big deal. I think it's Britain,
Okay.
a lot of the.
Yeah, maybe it was in the United States, there are many that I read, yeah. But yeah, pigeons.
Rats with wings, some people say.
So, The Wingman by Adam Lazarus. This is the untold story of the unique 51-year friendship between American icons John Glenn and Ted Williams. It walks you through how their friendship formed as they flew missions together during the Korean War, the highs and lows through the years, and ultimately what happened to their friendship in the end. It is meticulously researched with previously unpublished letters, diaries, and declassified military records. It is described as a wonderful narrative nonfiction that focuses at its heart on a friendship. The read-alikes I have are John Glenn's biography, his memoir about his life. It starts from his childhood in New Concord, Ohio, and goes through his time not only in space but also as a senator. And then, because I am a nerd of a variety, I also have the NASA mission report for Friendship 7, which we have. It is super fun. It comes with a CD that includes broadcasts and stuff during his flight, Friendship 7. So if you wanna join me in the nerd round, I have that. And that is the end. Thank you so much for joining us for Books in Focus. Our next one will be August 8th, and we very much look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget tonight, we do have our fiction book discussion. Early risers, things got a little goofy with the scheduling because of the 4th of